All right. This video is going to be a complete follow-up to the last one, which if you haven't seen yet, go watch that, the video titled Why I'm Leaving Canada. And to give you guys some backstory, prior to posting that video, this YouTube channel, I just started, it had like 25 subscribers. Probably all of them were my buddies. Every video I launched was like just going to crickets. And that's okay when you're starting out, that's normal. But overnight, that last video became a viral sensation. Thousands of views are pouring in to this day, still, as I'm filming this. Thousands of subscribers are showing love, which I appreciate. But the truth of the matter is that I don't really care about these YouTube vanity metrics. It's not why I'm doing this. They're a good sign to quantify that your message is getting out there and clearly resonating. I don't even think that's considered viral anymore. I think I fractured the culture at that point. It's beyond virality. I could see that video getting hundreds of thousands of views at this point because clearly millions of people also feel the same way. And that's why I made that video. It's because many people feel voiceless or left behind. And clearly there's fundamentally societal breaking issues going on with all of our countries, but particularly Canada, which is what I'm going to speak from experience about. And my last video, it was titled I'm out of here. Like I'm that's it. I'm done. I'm fed up. I've had enough. But I've had a real paradigm shift since I posted that. Why? I had to sift through thousands of comments of real people, real Canadians. So I got a really good pulse on what's wrong and what everyone's situation is. And I spoke to mothers who were worried about, their son's future, fathers who were worried about their daughter's safety. I spoke to the youth who are just scared, stressed out, working their asses off just for this hamster wheel, not getting anywhere. And I realized something. I'm not fucking going anywhere. There is so much that needs to be fixed, and nobody's doing it. So somebody's got to step up to the plate here. I'm not fucking leaving. Just like Jordan Belfort and Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not fucking going. Now, don't get me wrong. I still intend to go international, diversify my portfolio, perhaps try to get some other passports and whatnot, set up some corporations and bank accounts across overseas. Because I just think that's an intelligent thing to do. Whether you're a businessman or investor, you should be doing that regardless of what's going on in your country. So don't get me wrong. I'm still going to be going overseas and setting up an international portfolio. But there's no way I can leave my fellow Canadians behind after what I read. It's heartbreaking. It pisses me off. And I feel like after that video, I think I could do some good. I could really see some change coming about. And I'm not the type of guy that gets a one-hit wonder and just takes his foot off the gas. No, I don't even see that as, wow, I'm viral, cool. I don't give a shit. I see that as a signal, like the bat signal, Batman, like I need to speak out. And it's because I'm in a position where I'm able to. People are thinking the same thoughts as me, but they're afraid to speak their mind because they could get fired, they could get labeled a racist or whatever, sexist, whatever label they're gonna hit me with. They're gonna hit me with labels, by the way. There's gonna be smear campaigns against me. I don't give a shit. I'm my own boss. You can't censor me, you can't silence me. I'm not going to stop. People are by the thousands, if not millions, are in need of help. And so there's no way I could turn my back on my country and my countrymen in that regard. But I will say this video will be made to address Canadians in all situations. There's many that are leaving. I want to discuss how you could do that and options you may have. There's ones that have no choice but to stay. And for those, I respect that. And I will talk about how you could rebuild the country from within, how you could take power back into your own hands, not through violence, but through systems and intelligence. And I'm going to be addressing the entirety of the West, not just Canada, okay? Because this is clearly a Western problem. In the comments, Americans, Europeans, Australians, everyone, they're going through the same thing. So we all have to unite. We all have to stand up because clearly what's going on across the West, it won't stop until someone puts their foot down and makes a big enough voice that they have no choice but to listen. And we're going to put them in a situation, like I said, where they have no choice but to listen. They cannot afford to ignore your concerns any further. I'm willing to take it there if you guys are. You want to build this channel up and turn this into something that can actually fracture the system and make proper change? I'm all for it. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. What else is there to do? This is your livelihood on the line. This is your children's livelihoods. I'm not a father yet, but shit, I feel like I'm indebted to your children, the future of Canada. And so I'm not going to sit around. I'm not going to fucking flounder about while this country falls apart. Now, don't get me wrong. The more international options you have, like sovereignty is optionality. And I think this is a brilliant thing to give to yourself as well as your children and their children in the future. So I would never write off going abroad and diversifying your bets. Most investors do this with stocks anyways. I think it's smart to do it with real estate as well as passports in your life, because you never know, your country could turn to shit overnight. Happens. The country that our grandparents all spent their lives building is dead. It's gone. But the spark isn't gone. It's just buried under inflation, bureaucracy, and mass complacency. I think we have a moral obligation to rebirth that spark that made the West so great, made, you know, North America and Europe have the absolute best cultures on earth. And I know a lot of people won't like to hear that, they like to shit on the West right now, and they like to shit on Americans and this and that. But let me tell you, there's nothing else on earth in the entire history of humanity that gave the same amount of opportunity and freedom that liberty and freedom from the West gave. That's why so many other nations are desperate to get our systems and copy them. And that's why so many other nations are also desperate to destroy our systems, to make it look like it's a complete failure. And this is by design. We can't let them win. And a lot of people get angry or have a misconception about Canadians that want to leave for sunnier horizons abroad, right? Let me tell you something. They'll call it running. They'll call you a pussy. The reality is that you're on a sinking ship, and it's not a bad idea to create lifeboats. You could still fight for your country, but you don't have to go down with it. And so for the next section of the video, I want to address Canadians that intend to leave and the optionality that is available across the world. Because in the comments, I had so many people going, there's nowhere better, you're gonna come crawling back, and misery loves company and all that. But let's get right into it, because there are options out there, and I'm gonna go region by region. And the beautiful thing about being Canadian is that you can legally exit the tax system. You're gonna get dinged horribly on the exit tax. I'm not looking forward to that. But technically, as a Canadian citizen, you could still maintain the passport. You could leave the tax system if you're not living in Canada. And that's a real big plus as a Canadian, whereas Americans are taxed worldwide, regardless if they live in America or not. So obviously, let's get right into it. For those who are thinking about leaving Canada, and you have all these people telling you there's no options, let's start off in North America, in our own backyard. The United States is a great option. It offers a lot more economic opportunity. There's no denying that. The dollar is much stronger. It is a flawed country. It's not perfect. There are no perfect countries, but some of those states are well run and have booming economies and can offer a pretty free and prosperous life still. So that's a great option, the United States. And I'm talking about states like Texas, like Florida. I think Tennessee could be interesting. Quite a few more, So Arizona is another one that I heard is quite nice. So there's options, right? You don't have to be complacent. And that's just in your own backyard. Another one in your own backyard is Mexico. And of course, you have a lot of ignorant, uneducated people saying, oh, Mexico. Oh, I stopped listening when you said Mexico. Let me tell you something about Mexico. They're going to replace China with the manufacturing because of the nearshoring era that's to come. And they're projected to become, I believe, the top 7 or top 5th largest economy in the entire world by 2050, I believe. And even as it stands today, your dollar goes a lot further there. The Mexican people are the greatest. They're so friendly. They're so hardworking. They deserve all the success that comes their way. I really am bullish on Mexico. Now, that's not to deny there are safety concerns for sure, as there are in every country. Let's not pretend like Canada is lovely and has no safety concerns either. But there's this misconception that as soon as you get off the plane in Mexico, the cartel is going to cut your head off. This couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, my father's been going down there for half the year as a snowbird for like 7 years now. Never once had an issue. He's had issues in Canada though. So in Mexico, there's a lot of great areas. You know, if you like the big city, you got Mexico City. Querétaro is kind of a smaller version of that. Not too far away. You get have the Playa del Carmen, the Tulum kind of lifestyle. If you're into that, on the other coast you have Puerto Vallarta, you have Cabo. These are great, beautiful places, and there's an abundance of places in Mexico that those are just kind of the mainstream spots. There's a lot of hidden gems there. It's really a beautiful country, and I think it has a bright future. So don't listen to all the propaganda telling you you're gonna get killed if you step off the plane. It's fucking bullshit. Okay, so that covers North America. Central America, Costa Rica, I believe they have a territorial tax system. The nature is some of the most beautiful in the entire world. It's one of the blue zones in the world, meaning that that's where people live the longest due to the climate and diet and low stress lifestyle. I've been there. It's just so beautiful. It's like it's beyond words how beautiful the nature is there. So if you're into nature, if you're into kind of that hippy dippy lifestyle, that could be for you. Then there's Panama. Panama is an interesting one. Very good for banking, very good for taxes, very good for business. A lot of people do report that it's quite humid to live there, but I think you could remedy that if you were, say, buying a place in Boquete in the mountains, and you could get kind of a cooler climate to live in. So moving on from Central America, Belize is another interesting option, but I don't know too much about it. And El Salvador's up and coming. They cleaned up their crime, so we'll see with that. That could be an interesting play. Central America is interesting, and it's starting to clean up. So moving on from that, you got South America. This is kind of where I'm looking as one of my options, particularly Southern Cone. I know a lot of people love Colombia. That's personally not my pick. I do see the appeal though, like the climate in Medellin and Bogota. Beautiful climates, low cost of living, great deals on real estate. Of course, a lot of guys go down there for the women. I mean, to each their own, right? That's a thing. I don't know how Colombians feel about that, but then you've got Brazil. Brazil is going to be one of the largest economies in the world, as well as Mexico. Resource rich. It was always kind of supposed to be the country of the future that just never panned out, which is unfortunate because Brazilians are really cool. And in the south of Brazil, there's some really beautiful places that are kind of similar to Europe. So I would check out the south of Brazil, like Florianopolis and Curitiba, or however you pronounce that city. And yeah, I think you could make it work in southern Brazil, but I haven't been, so I'm not talking from experience. I just know it's gorgeous and the people are friendly. But once again, safety is a concern. It's less of a concern in the south, I believe, than the north, but still something to watch out for. Then you've got Paraguay. Paraguay is quite interesting. Probably the best tax regime in the entire world, if not all of the Americas. I don't know about living there. I've never been. I can't comment. It's landlocked. I've heard the infrastructure is not up to par with the rest of Latin America, but that could easily change. I did hear the government is very right wing and freedom loving, and the tax regime, like I said, is kind of supportive of that claim. Like, you sounds like a good place to set up an online business or a tax residency quite easily. So that's an option. Uruguay, so Switzerland of the South, very stable, good banking, pretty good tax regimes. Some may call it boring. Some of you may be looking for boring. I think this area of the world is probably where is the best place to be for World War III. If in case something happened, I think the Southern Cone, like Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay, are where you want to be, right? They have the right fresh water. They have their own ability to grow their own crops. They're far away from the nuclear radiuses. And while, of course, it's going to be a global risk, it's safer there than most places on Earth. And they're not at war. They're not looking for war. They seem to all get along for the most part, which is a good sign. Chile is an interesting one. It's the most stable of South America. It has a pretty strong economy. I heard it started going in the wrong direction in terms of politics. It's very typical of Latin America. Once things start going very well, of course, they have to vote in a government to destroy it, which leads me to Argentina, the perfect example of a Latin American country that had everything going for it in the early 1900s. It was going to be the richest country in the world. It was one of the richest countries in the world due to their resources. It was such a strong culture. It still is. But they voted in so many Peronists. If you don't know what that is, look that up. It's a political sect of Argentina that absolutely destroyed the economy, drove the country over, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was like 8 decades of just hyperinflation, destroying the economy, bleeding the people dry, of a country that reminds me of Canada in the sense that it's about the same size population. They're just on the opposite end of the Americas as us, and they have as many resources as us, basically, but yet they still manage to fumble the ball. They're working on bringing it back now, and now this with Javier Milei, this could be an interesting play in the future. We'll see how it pans out, but I think there's good opportunity in Argentina to get a passport. I heard you can't renounce it, so that's something to look into. And real estate. Real estate is quite, you get quite a good deal on real estate there. But yeah, the economy, it's a basket case economy. The currencies, you want to talk about toilet paper. The Argentine peso is toilet paper. And honestly, the toilet paper is actually worth more than the Argentine peso. It's bad. So, in terms of raising a kid there, I don't know. It did actually seem like a good place. When I was there, I lived there for two months. There was kids running around, parents were happy. The city was quite beautiful, parks everywhere. It still seemed, despite the economic hardship, to be kind of a happier place to raise kids. What I like about Latin America is that they're very family oriented. Perhaps this is due to their Catholic or Christian roots, but it's brilliant. I love going to Latin America, and you go to the beach and you see all the families running and laughing and having a good time, actually enjoying and living their lives, something that the West could learn from. We need to go back to those ways. Moving across the ocean there, you've got Europe. We've got Western Europe. I heard a lot of it is going down the tubes, similar to Canada. Um, I don't even know what to recommend for Western Europe. Um, Marbella is a spot that a lot of people like Andalusia in Spain. Very beautiful, at least. It's going to be tax hell and bureaucratic, but at least you get one of the best climates and cultures in the world for it. Italy is interesting. One of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful country in the entire world. Their leader is pretty good, pretty good. But then again, I don't have my finger on the pulse in Italy, so I could be way off. Like I said, it's hard for me to recommend many places in the West, especially Western Europe. England, God, uh, God, I'm sorry, guys. France, woo, woo, woo. No thanks. Actually, Portugal. Portugal is actually a pretty good option. I can't believe I forgot about Portugal. Um, yeah, a lot of people move to Portugal. They got the Mediterranean climate, beautiful, cheap cost of living. Heard the real estate's gone up a lot though, so uh, could be a good option. I don't know. My buddy went there. He said he really enjoyed it. So a lot of people do enjoy it, Portugal. Now, Scandinavia, I've heard good things and I've heard bad things, so I can't comment. I think you guys are kind of in the same boat as us in the West, and you have some shit you need to clean up. And you know what? We're here. We're here with you, brothers. I think Westerners need to support each other because our governments aren't supporting us. So the people of the West need to unite, not only within their own countries, but with each other's countries as well, because the power needs to come back to the people. And we could do this very systematically and intelligent. I do not urge for violence, okay? And I know that's easier said than done, but here's why I don't urge for violence. It's because I think that governments are trying to force internal violence. Why? Well, because they never let a good crisis go to waste. Then they could implement martial law, implement new AI technologies to monitor and survey people, new laws, emergency power acts. You don't want to give them an inch. They're looking for an excuse to just implement whatever they want to implement. And as we have to take the high ground as civilians, as citizens. We do. Is it ideal? No, but that's the situation we're in. If you want to actually fix the system, you can't bite the bait they're leaving for us. We have to do it intelligently and systematically over time. And I totally think this is possible. I think it's actually much more doable than people think. You know, I think every technological system that could be used to oppress us can also be inverse used to free us. For instance, people are worried about central bank digital currencies. Like in China, they just got rid of basically all the cryptocurrencies to bring in the way for the digital yuan. That's bad if you're a crypto holder. But what I will say is this: all of these CBDC technologies that are on the blockchain that are used to track our income, what we do with our money, our investments, whatever it may be, that could go both ways. That could go both ways. There's some real smart people out there that could develop, and you could be in the comments or watching this video, you could develop blockchain technology that inverses like a CBDC for the government. Okay, you want to track our money? We could track your money too. It goes both ways. You want to go this route? Let's go this route. Let's see what the blockchain can show us, what every tax dollar they collect in the government, how much they've collected, and where it's going, and we could follow it to a T. They won't like that. They want that on us. They won't like that in return. So I think that could be a solution to that. But anyways, I'm ranting at this point. Moving on from Western Europe, we're going to discuss Eastern Europe. This is where I'm looking, particularly Eastern Europe and the Balkans, mainly because my grandmother came from Romania, so I know they have a citizenship by descent program that's interesting. Romania is an interesting country. It's really up and coming. It's kind of like a dark horse of Europe. People don't really talk about it too much, but Bucharest is one of the most beautiful European cities. It's clean. The economy is heading in the right direction. The taxes are favorable for a business environment. There's really affordable, high quality English speaking labor there. So you could really build a beautiful business out of there. It's got a lot going for it, you know. I'm sure there's issues like everywhere else, but they've got Transylvania, Carpathian Mountains. Cluj is an up and coming city there. But the thing about Romania is it's got the fastest internet in all of Europe. So it's a great place to, you know, if you're looking for an old soul, go back to the Eastern traditional life, but still yet have the infrastructure to build something serious. It's a good option. That's one I'm eyeing. Budapest, Hungary. Beautiful city. Probably the most beautiful architecture in the entire world. Pretty hard to beat them on that one. I'm actually heading there this fall. It's once again Hungary, lowest corporate tax rate in all of Europe. Business-friendly environment. But once again, I have to go check it out. I don't know how open it is to foreigners, but that could be a great option. I really like what they're doing with their maintaining their culture. I like what the government did regarding, instead of trying to replace their population with immigrants, they tried to incentivize by reducing, they tried to incentivize birth rates by reducing income tax rates. So every kid you have, I think they deducted 25% of income tax for life. So if you have 4 kids, you have 0% income tax for life. Something along those lines. I think stuff like this is a genius way to maintain your culture, increase the birth rates and quality of life, as well as not replace your native population. So, oh my God, there's so many good options in this area. But of course, it's a volatile area. There's the war that's going on, and that's something to watch out for. A lot of people are talking about Poland. Poland is honestly probably leading Europe at this point. The economy's booming. They're rebuilding their military like crazy. That could be a double-edged sword, who knows? But yeah, they have a lot going for it. The culture's strong, people are great, country's great. A lot of people are looking at Poland right now and saying, you know, like, listen to this shit in Canada. I gotta listen to these guys have horn wars all the time. You know? So Poland could be a great option. I've only heard great things. I think a lot of Ukrainians left to Poland and have built some interesting stuff there and kind of helped the economy out. So that's good. There's the Baltics. Very interesting. Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. They all seem to be very forward thinking when it comes to AI startups, tech startups, startups in general, and creating a favorable business environment to compete. I think it's brilliant. I also haven't been to these countries, so I can't comment too much on them. I do know their cities are clean, cleaner than ours. There's no drug addicts lined up outside your front door, so that's a good sign. Oh my God, this whole region. I'm literally trying off the top of my head to name all the places. There's Croatia, beautiful territorial tax system, right on the Mediterranean. Great climate. One I'm looking at is Montenegro. This country was, I think it was founded in 2006. Brand new country. And beautiful Mediterranean or Adriatic real estate there, and just the nature's gorgeous. Taxes are favorable. That's an interesting one because I could see it kind of becoming like a little mini Monaco in its own way over time. It's also looking at joining the EU, so there's a lot of opportunity there for them to grow their economy. That's also possibly a double-edged sword. Serbia. My Serbians. Every Serbian I've met, I've really found funny. They're good people. And I like the Balkans in general. People from the Balkans are great. It's an underrated part of the world. Of course, there's a lot of instability still there in terms of at least culture. Like there's a lot of friction there. Could be a flashpoint in some areas, but Serbia seems to be doing things right. They're holding their culture together. They have a favorable tax environment. They're quite open to those who are willing to invest, which I find is a bright idea. So that's a great option to look at. A lot of people are telling me to not look at Belgrade, but look at Novi Sad. So that's something I'll have to be doing. And I'm going to document it. I'm going to be documenting all these places. I'll be traveling to Eastern Europe and the Balkans in the fall. So there's that. Bulgaria is interesting. Armenia is interesting. There's so many options. The Czech Republic's interesting. Slovenia seems quite well put together. But I'd like you guys to give your input because I honestly, I'm not speaking from experience on all of these places, just what I've heard. So these are options. These are options. Moving on from Eastern Europe, we've got the Middle East. The Middle East. Yeah. It's up and coming, but also very volatile as it's always been. I don't think that's ever going to change. It's just ingrained in the culture and all the traditions. I'd love to see that place, everybody fall in line and they could all work together. And I think the Middle East would be one of the richest parts of the entire world if they could do that. And I could see movement towards that. So that's interesting. So a lot of people like Dubai, UAE. Some people are recommending Saudi Arabia. Oman is another interesting one. They didn't go that route of building these metropolises. They stuck to like their culture and their historic architecture, which I think is a brilliant way of maintaining unique appeal as well as your heritage. Brilliant. I think that's a great move. What else is out there? I mean, it's all just the rest is really it could be a war zone overnight. So I'm reluctant to even recommend the Middle East too much. Africa, I mean, that could be the next Middle East, in my opinion. There's a lot of room for chaos there. And I think in the next century to come, there will be a lot of chaos there. There's a lot of resources to fight over. The East and the West will be fighting over influence. But I have heard from very intelligent, like libertarian investors speak about how there's a lot of opportunity there. Could be something to look into, like Kenya, Rwanda, perhaps Nigeria, but these are not my first picks, to be honest with you. But could be a place where I'm wrong, and they've got massive demographics that are booming and a huge consumer market. So we'll see. It sounds crazy to think Africa right now, but what's Africa going to look like in 50 years after all this Chinese infrastructure investment? I don't know. So I can't really talk too much on Africa because it would just be ignorant. I don't know enough. Southeast Asia, this is a great place. My buddies live in Thailand and Vietnam. Both they recommend it wholeheartedly. They love it. Said it's like paradise on earth. A lot of people love the Philippines and Japan. So a lot of options out there. Something to be wary of about Southeast Asia, though, and this isn't really a knock on them. It's actually kind of like a kudos to them, a head nod to them, is that they don't allow foreigners to really assimilate and get passports and become citizens and buy up all the real estate. I think they do this as a way to protect their own people, which is why I think it's brilliant. But if you're a foreigner looking to go abroad and you want to set down real roots, Southeast Asia is more transient, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's why I'm looking at Latin America and Eastern Europe, because you could actually open up lower tax corporations legally, get a passport, actually become somebody who could integrate into the country and build something real. I think Southeast Asia could be a good place if you're getting started, if you have an online business, but if you want to lay down real roots, probably not the best option. As great as it is, it sounds like the quality of life is peak there. Cost of living's great. Taxes are very good in some areas. So yeah, I mean, and the food's amazing. A lot of the people there are really hardworking and intelligent. Vietnam is one to watch for. I think that's going to be a booming economy, and the Vietnamese are hardworking people. They deserve it. Go look at their history of wars and how many people they beat up. Like, it's it's actually phenomenal. Like, they really do deserve a booming economy in future. So yeah, that's the world. You've got options. Don't let other people gaslight you into thinking you're a traitor for leaving, or that there's no other options out there. So there you go. That's for the Canadians that intend to leave. Now here's to address the Canadians that can't leave. They have no choice but to stay. Now, for those who have to stay in Canada, perhaps you're taking care of a family member who's sick, or whatever it may be, you may not have the means yet to leave, but you intend to. That's okay. What I would recommend to the people that want to stay in Canada and rebuild it, as well as the ones who may want to leave but are stuck here, I think you have to take power back in your own hands. And the best way to do this is through complete sovereignty. By that, I mean, I believe that you should be starting your own business and not relying on an employer. What businesses? Well, in Canada, I've built a multi-million dollar trades-based business. I do windows, doors, and garage doors for insurance companies. Any trade could take my business model, and if you're a carpenter or an electrician or a plumber, you could just copy my business model. You'll thrive. You'll print a lot of money. I think the trades are fantastic with the way AI is going. It's going to obliterate the majority of jobs and make most businesses and jobs obsolete. It ain't replacing trades anytime soon. And trades will be extremely lucrative. They already are, and they'll only become more so. So one thing is, I would definitely recommend getting into a trade and starting a business around that. If you're not interested in getting into the trades, still try to start your own business. It's not easy in Canada, but it's the only way forward if you want to be truly sovereign. And then I would take your profits from the business and I would roll it into land. So you have proximity for you and your family from everyone else in the city's decaying. I would build stuff on that land. Perhaps you could give back to the country by leasing farmland to farmers for a very affordable, fair price, so they could actually, so that we could benefit the farmers of this country, because they're very important, and I'd love your input on that. I don't know too much about farmers, but I see in Europe that they're trying to basically stop the farmers from being able to own private farms or something like that, and there was massive protests. So I think we should be helping the farmers. They're our source of food. They're hardworking, good people. God bless their souls. You have to invest in your own country and take it back into your own hands. So, you could do this by investing in companies here, like dividend stocks such as Royal Bank of Canada, Enbridge. It's not financial advice, by the way. I'm just throwing out ideas. These are companies I've invested in and have done pretty well, especially Royal Bank of Canada. So, if you're staying in Canada, you're going to have to take it back into your own hands by what? Starting your own businesses, making your own income, buying your own land, building your own houses, covering your own shelter, food, water, and privacy needs. And then, yeah, you could invest in dividend stocks here. You could actually have ownership and stake in the corporations that run this country, and they'll pay you a dividend that will pay you to basically just passive income to hold the stock. So this is one way that you could take back control into your own hands through financial means. Not only financially, but this will give you sovereignty beyond living in like a little box condo in the city. And yes, it's expensive. The real estate in Canada is very expensive. It's horrible. But let me tell you something. If you know how to look for gems and you know how to negotiate, they're still out there. If you don't believe me, take a look at this condo. It's a 10-foot or 11-foot ceilings, 6 massive windows that wrap around, Manhattan style loft, right in the center of a city of 1.5 million people. I bought it for 100,000 Canadian dollars on the dot. 100,000. That's nothing, That's nothing. In the by global standards, that's good. Because when I bought it back in, I think, December 2023, $100,000 Canadian was equivalent to like $7 US, $8 on a good day. And yes, that's not quite enough. You could have total ownership, but you still need to apply pressure. You need to be writing your MPs, calling them, putting the pressure on them, because the system hates nothing more than organized truth. And when you light a fire under their ass and you make them do their jobs and you demand they do their jobs, or you tell them, if you're not doing your job, why are we not replacing you by the end of next week? Throw the ball in their court. You have all these homeless people and drug addicts in your street. We're paying you our tax dollars to fund your salary as well as your pension. You're not even getting off your ass to clean up the streets. Now we should throw the ball back in your court. Why should we keep you in this position? You're not doing your job. We're holding up our end of the bargain. You're not. So get to it or else you're getting replaced. I'm a businessman. I wake up every day, and if these were my employees, I'd wake up ecstatic to fire their dumb asses. Now that we've addressed solutions, because I don't like to whine and complain, I like to provide solutions. I'm a business guy. It's how I made my money. I provided solutions to pain points and problems. It is what it is. Now that we've addressed all of that, if you're a Canadian looking to leave, as well as Canadians looking to stay or have no choice but to stay. By the way, the Canadians that are staying and have no choice but to stay, I still think even though you're staying, it's still very wise to set up overseas bank accounts and corporations. Diversify. If there's a citizenship by descent program you're eligible for, go get that other passport. I think you should increase your options. Even if you're staying in Canada, it doesn't mean that your bank account has to be in Canada. It doesn't mean that your corporation has to be in Canada. It doesn't mean your trusts that go to your kids have to be in Canada. So it could be a hybrid approach, which is probably the most intelligent approach. You could buy up Canada and take back control in your own terms, and then also have the optionality of having overseas assets in case things go actual haywire here. You have other options, like a place, just a pied a terre in another country, because you never know. You never know. But anyways, enough of that. I wanted to address something bigger than all of this. And it's palpable. It's not just in Canada. It's actually more so in the United States, as well as Europe right now. And it needs to be addressed. The division within the Western countries. It seems that in the last 5 years, basically all of the Western countries politically are split down the middle, 50-50. Everyone's at each other's throats, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, black, white, Jew, Arab, whatever it may be, woman, men, whatever they could find a way to divide us on, they have, and they've been very successful at this through PSYOP campaigns. Like, for instance, there's a lot of podcasters on YouTube that, these fucking dorks, they sit around on a panel being like, women and feminism are the problem with everything, and they're creating this divide between men and women, which is absolutely disgusting, especially when you look at the Western birth rates. The last thing we need, this is the last thing we need, is a divide between men and women. As men, it's our duty to uphold the protection for our children as well as the women of our countries. That's on us. Not sitting around whining about feminism on a podcast, complaining about women because you can't get any. Like, shut the fuck up. There's so many areas of psyops that are coming at us to divide us, and this is what our foreign adversaries want. Our foreign enemies are looking to divide us and crumble us internally. And this is because they know externally they can't touch us. Can you imagine trying to invade the United States or Canada geographically? You cross the ocean and a guy parachute. You're a Russian, you paratroop right into Appalachian Mountains, and all you hear is like banjos coming from the woods. Like, you know, you fucked up. You're not invading us. It ain't happening. The North America's got the biggest military in the entire world. It's not happening. Our geography protects us as well. But what is a real threat here is internally, the internal division. If people start fighting internally and there's a civil war, that's the end of the American empire as you know it. This is the biggest threat to the United States of America, as well as all of the other Western countries. And it's a real brilliant play by our foreign adversaries. They want us at each other's throats. They want us confused and demoralized. They want us tearing apart our own country. They want us to lose our patriotism. This is all by design. And something that you guys, I urge you to watch, is a KGB defector. His name is, I think, Yuri Bezmenov or something like that. Pardon my pronunciation. He spoke about how the KGB, multiple decades ago, had this idea to infiltrate the West's academic systems and basically poison the well with Marxist ideology, which is why you see a lot of Westerners that hate their own country. And basically, the term empathetic suicide exists because of this. And the whole purpose of this was they wanted useful idiots to come into power so that it's easier to take us over internally and corrupt us internally, because they knew they couldn't do it externally. We're too powerful. So I know it's very, very difficult after everything all our countries have been through. Believe me, I have my woes with the Liberal Party and people that supported that. I get it. It's difficult. They took my rights away as well as they took your rights away. It is what it is. We have to take the higher ground, right? Because it's not about left versus right or anything like that. It's about, do you let your foreign rivals collapse your country internally? Do you feed the systems of their weapons? I don't want to. So I think first and foremost, as difficult as it is internally in every Western nation across Europe and North America, Australia, we have to heal internally. We have to stop with the division and the fighting first and foremost. We're not going to get anywhere if we're at each other's throats. You know, we have so much good in our country, so much potential. We cannot throw that away over psyops. Fuck no. We have to get along. And I know people are going to be arguing in the comments. Yeah, they're liberals this, they're feminism that. I don't even fucking want to hear it, because maybe you have a point, maybe you don't. It's irrelevant when you have enemies on the outside preying on your downfall by design, and you're feeding that design. So first and foremost, we have to be cool with each other, guys. We're not going to get anywhere at each other's throats. If you want to rebuild this country, it starts internally. And once we do that, once all these countries have internally made up and can get along and be a cohesive country again, now we can now help each other. Canada and the United States could help each other. Then we could help Western Europe, and we could all help each other out, because our government's really sold us out. So it's up to the people now to unite internationally as well as domestically. And this is how you take your power back, because the systems in place that are oppressing us across the West, they're systems, they're designed. That doesn't mean we can't design our own systems and our own organizations to maintain clarity of what's important in our own countries. We could fight their designs with our designs. You don't have to be a victim. And if anything, the virality of my last video proves you're not alone. You're not alone. There's millions of people that think and believe the same way as you do across the entire world right now. And I have a hard time believing that governments will crush the will of the human spirit, especially when it's a global issue. So yes, not only do our foreign rivals benefit from us being at each other's throats, but governments that also want top-down control want this. And I believe they're pushing for some sort of massive civil war or riots across these countries with what they're doing, so they could implement martial law as well as AI technocratic systems to be essentially turn us into surveillance states. Because when you give the government an inch, they take a mile. So we can't give them an inch. We have to take the higher ground. We have to unite. It is what it is. as frustrating as that may be to some of you. You have no choice. Otherwise, you're feeding your country, you're feeding the countries that hate you, and you're feeding the governments that hate you. This isn't about taking a political side. I'm not a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm a fucking human at the end of the day. And we all are. And we all, at the end of the day, want the same things. We want a future where we could all thrive, our kids could thrive, and countries we could take pride in. It's on us to take that back. I mean, they say, easy times make weak men, hard times make strong men. We're in the hard times. It's time to be strong. It's time to stand up and do what's right. Our ancestors literally fought in the trenches for these countries. We can't just completely roll over and let them take it through systems like censorship laws, bills, blah, 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 blah. It's all fucking bullshit, and we can't tolerate it. And you know what the thing is about this stuff? It only goes as far as we allow it to. It only goes as far as we allow it to. When we all simultaneously put our foot down and tell them, no, enough is enough, you're going to listen to us now, you would be shocked how quickly the government will turn course and go, oh, you're right. They're shaking in their boots. Shaking in their boots when the people unite. So they love to do this old classic divide and conquer tactic, but I'm trying to combat the divide and conquer here. I'm trying to unify and build, not conquer, not destroy. And regardless of if you leave or if you choose to stay and rebuild, there's some things that remain the same regardless. You have to live a life of discipline and sovereignty. You can't lay over and roll over and be weak. You have to maintain sovereignty of your own life and full ownership, full accountability. Whether you leave or not, you should be starting a business. You should be taking your own income into your own hands. You should be investing in assets that produce cash flow, like real estate, or you could invest in gold to preserve your wealth, or you could, some people love Bitcoin. You have to take matters into your own hands. And regardless of which path you choose to go in, it comes down to your own actions and how much you're willing to tolerate. Now, a lot of people were asking me about location independent income streams. I could do a whole video on just that alone. You could sell options on stocks. That's what I do. I sell options on US tech stocks. They pay me a lot of income to do that. A year ago, I did not know how to do that. I taught myself how to do it with AI, and now I have 4 to 5 figure months with like minimal work doing that. That's not to brag. I'm just saying if you use AI to learn things and really apply yourself, you'd be surprised in a year how far you could get. You could start an e-commerce store. Even if you set up a trades business like I did in Canada, I set up the systems where my business is physically in Canada, yes. I don't have to be where my business is anymore because I've created the systems that are automated and I could remove myself physically from the business. That's another topic I could speak about. If you guys are interested in investments and business, I could discuss that further, but that's not what this video is entirely about. So to end it all off on a positive note, some solutions: ownership, complete ownership of yourself, your own actions, your own stocks that pay you, gold, your own real estate, everything, your own business, your own income stream. Take control, because a lot of people that get lost, and I've been guilty of this in the past, where you look at the macro too much and it overwhelms you and stresses you out. Stop focusing on the macro so much. Focus on the micro, what you can control in your own life. Start building that out, and then you'll be in a stronger position to then benefit the macro and change the macro as you see fit.